Welcome back to the Burn, Stress, Lose Weight podcast, where we are doing a whole series on the very normal phases of weight loss. This episode today is all about the sticky middle, the messy middle, the part of the journey that not enough people are talking about. And it's very normal because we don't talk about this enough. Your very overachiever, smart brain believes something is going wrong. And this episode is all about destigmatizing this part of the journey. It's such a normal part of the journey. It's where your transformation will happen, where you start turning the ship around, where you start solving this problem once and for all. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you pause this episode, go back to last week's episode where I get into phases 1, 2, and 3, where most overachievers get stuck. You might end up on the roller coaster of up and down, up and down. You create a lot of distrust and disbelief with yourself. It's simply because you're in phases 1, 2, and 3. It's okay. We're going to talk about exactly how to solve this in this week and next week's episode. And I mentioned this in last week's episode, but if you hear the occasional airplane or bird or wind, it is because I'm recording this podcast episode outside, mostly as a celebration to me, but also because this is where I just feel the most creative, and that is what I wanted to come through on this podcast series. And if you did not know, we are celebrating the 3-year anniversary of this podcast. We're going to have a whole host of winners for the celebration. You can get all the details on how to participate in this podcast celebration with me over at burnstressloseweight.com/celebrate. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode, the 10 phases of weight loss and wellness. You might have found yourself on a roller coaster of phases 1, 2, and 3 again and again and again. You've gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, lost weight. Clients that come to work with me are now aware that something has been strategically missing. Clients that come to work with me, they're coming in, it's phase 4 now, and they're like, there is a gap. There is a gap in my strategy. I know that I want to solve this problem, and I know that something is not working. Clearly, me relying on motivation is not enough. Clearly, there's something missing in my strategy because I'm a smart person. I solve problems in every other part of my life, and I just can't solve this. There must be a strategic gap. And it turns out every time I hit a life obstacle, I end up giving up on myself. I end up throwing in the towel. Something is missing. So when clients come to work with me, we get into phase 4. I call phase 4 diagnosing the real problem. Up until phase 4, when you were in phases 1, 2, and 3, part of the strategic gap was you thought, I'm just not disciplined, or I just need to buckle down harder, right? That's diagnosing the wrong problem. You might have thought something like, I don't have enough time. This season is really hard. My partner's not supportive. My kids are being troublemakers. I don't have time with work and with all of the laundry list of things that you probably have as a busy professional. This is diagnosing the wrong problem. I've given this example on the podcast before, but it fits really well, so I'm going to use it again. It's like trying to treat your menstrual cramps with antifungal foot cream. In no scenario is it going to work. You can have the Cadillac of antifungal foot creams, the best of the best, and you will just rub your foot raw. You will waste time, money, energy, bandwidth. You will create so much frustration because your menstrual cramps will not improve. So again, it makes a lot of sense if we have thought that the antifungal foot cream is going to solve the problem, but we know that it's not working because it hasn't worked, right? Phase 4 is where I help my clients diagnose the real problem. If the real reason that you have not yet lost the weight you wanted had nothing to do with discipline, it had nothing to do with how much time you had, it had nothing to do with how supportive or how obedient your family and kids and your colleagues were, if those were not the real reasons, then let's get to what it is. Phase 4 is identifying your strategic gap. I love doing this. This is something that I do with my clients before they even come to work with me on a consult call. If you and I have ever talked on a consult call, we really start to identify what your strategic gaps have been. You probably have more than one, and that's okay. But we have to identify them. So when we move to phase 5, which is proper planning, we're going to get to that in just a minute, you actually have a plan that has a shot at working. Here are the most common strategic gaps that I have found in clients that come to work with me. This specifically applies for professional women who have, again, overachieving tendencies. You may or may not identify as a perfectionist or type A person, but you love hitting goals and you hate making mistakes. If that sounds familiar, then these are your strategic gaps. Strategic gap number 1, you didn't actually love your plan. I remember for me, when I was trying to lose a lot of weight for my wedding, I was willing to just do whatever because I wanted to lose weight for a very special event. I did 100-calorie oatmeal packets. I was eating a lot of lettuce, a lot of salads. I was hitting the gym, the treadmill, which was like my least favorite activity, 6 days a week. I was tracking every single calorie and point that I was eating. And it worked. I lost a lot of weight for my wedding, but I hated that strategy. I hated that way of eating. And so the day after my wedding, I wasn't going to continue it. I stopped eating the oatmeal packets. I stopped eating lettuce, and I gained the weight back. So strategic gap number one is you didn't actually love your plan. Now I want to be really careful here and fully forthcoming. You don't actually have to love your plan all the time. There are going to be moments if you want to achieve your goal that you have to know how to say no to snacking or eating something that maybe is not what you decided you were going to eat. I want to be super transparent. You have to love your plan, and you don't have to love it all the time, every single minute of the day. I think that that's really important. Otherwise, we can kind of come in with these wonky expectations of what it's like to lose weight, that you have to be happy and excited and loving your plan all the time. You don't, but you have to overall love your nutrition strategy if you want to be able to sustain it for a lifetime. Another reason that you will not love your strategy is if your strategy was not comprehensive. Really often when you're in phase 2, which is you just consume and plan calories and points and macros, most overachieving women don't actually have a comprehensive strategy that takes into account guilt-free rest and play. And I know this sounds almost crazy, because what does playtime and resting have anything to do with weight loss? Because overachieving women are taxing their brains with thousands and thousands of decisions throughout the day. You're managing your kids and work and your parents and family, all of the people in your life, all of the sticky, uncomfortable challenges that you have. If you don't build in actual guilt-free rest and play, your brain will steal it. That's where urges and cravings come from. That's why you will snack and scroll even when your body's not hungry. The next strategic gap that I'm seeing across the board, this is still a strategic gap for me very often. I slip back into forgetting this and then I have to relearn it, is very specific emotional super skills. That moment when life circumstances are thrown your way, either with an aging parent or a troublesome, like trouble with your kid or something with your partner, or maybe something that your colleague said or your boss said, or your lengthy to-do list. There are a million flavors for the professional woman where you're going to experience life stress. And if we don't have the capacity and the resilience to know how to handle that stress and still take action on our most important goals, then we are going to perpetually sabotage and undo our wins. You may or may not have heard me say this in the past, but stress on its own is not a problem. We don't need to wait for your stressful life scenario to end, because the next one will just pop up. It's like whack-a-mole, right? Seasons come and go. There's always going to be the next flavor of stress or worry or overwhelm or frustration. Stress does not have to go away for us to take priority over what matters to us. So we're still in phase 4 where we are finding all of the strategic gaps. So far, we have found that you did not actually love your strategy in a really, truly sustainable way. Number 2, you didn't have certain emotional super skills, the capacity and that resilience to feel stress and still take action towards the things that deeply matter to you. And it's not just you. It has not been taught anywhere. And then the third one, and this is super important, most overachievers are actually missing a strategy on how to handle off-plan moments. When you do go off plan for a weekend, or the scale's up a pound, or you forgot yourself over a vacation, how do you handle that moment when you come back and the scale is up? Do you have a lot of scale drama? Does the scale follow you around like a dark cloud, ruining your entire day? And the only reason that will happen is if you don't have a specific strategy on how to handle that exact moment. So phase 4 is all about finding your strategic gaps. It did not actually support your fat burning potential, or it was something that you couldn't sustain in the long run. The second one was emotional super skills, knowing how to handle stress and boredom and overwhelm without undoing your wins. And number 3, I call this iteration capacity, which is learning from those off-plan moments, learning from the scale up without there being drama, just being able to get back to yourself, putting in more reps, that's iterating, going again and again and again until you absolutely will hit your goal. This leads me to phase 5. Phase 5 is filling the strategic gaps. Filling the strategic gaps required phase 4. We had to find, for most of my clients when they come to work with me, they're actually missing a little bit of all of those examples that I gave. So we have to fill our strategic gaps with a comprehensive strategy that, most importantly, fits into your life. Now, if you've ever thought, I don't have enough time, I don't have the time to plan for this, then number 1, because of confirmation bias, you will completely make this your reality. And number 2, you actually have a lot more time than you realize. One of my favorite parts about the Unstoppable group is we fill phase 5 the moment that you get access to the group in what I like to call the strategy mini class. This is where we go through my 5-part approach, which is having a nutrition strategy that recalibrates fat burning hormones, supports your metabolism, takes care of how your body is feeling, making sure you're getting enough of the right food. That's the nutrition strategy. But we have to also have strategy for guilt-free rest and play and movement and your mindset so that whatever strategy you have is actually going to be one that is sustainable. Phase 5 is filling the gaps with actually what was missing the last time that you tried to lose weight. Phase 5 is not about fitting you into a program. This is, I think, a big piece. If you've ever wondered, like, what about my unique life? What about my unique schedule? What about my unique obstacles? How does the Unstoppable group or coaching or this process work for me? Number one, I understand the sentiment because we are each unique. We all have unique lives and personalities and problems that we are navigating. And also, it's so important that we learn the skill of taking a framework, which is what you learn with nutrition, guilt-free rest, play, movement, and mindset, and you learn how to fit it into your life. We have to customize it to fit your life, actually fit your calendar, actually fit your personality, actually fit your week so that you can take it and then iterate on it and learn from it and modify it and evolve it and actually make it your own. We're about to get into some of my favorite phases, which is phases 6 and 7. Just to recap, phase 4 is identifying your actual strategic gaps. Phase 5 is filling those strategic gaps. And listen, you're going to have a lot of excitement at the start of filling those strategic gaps. It's like you kind of teeter back into phase 1. This is not a linear, by the way, I should have said this at the start of the episode. This is not a linear, like a treadmill approach. This is like amorphous. Okay. So you might hop from phase 2 to phase 4 to phase 1, back to phase 6. You're going to go all over the place. So when you start filling strategic gaps, and you start to see the reality of filling these strategic gaps is going to guarantee your weight loss results, you're going to have a lot of excitement. But now let's get to phase 6. Phase 6 is all about letting yourself feel really, really uncomfortable. And here's why. So now that you've filled in the gaps and you have a comprehensive strategy that takes your body goals into account, that takes your life into account, it's put into the structure of your calendar, it fits into your week, you're going to start implementing it now. You're going to start feeling better. But again, just like the past, real life is going to happen. You're going to have something pop up for you that you did not anticipate. And you could go back to the old way, the all or nothing. Either I have to completely give up on this goal or I have to try to double down, which doesn't work. Or you're going to have to learn to feel really, really uncomfortable. This is by far one of the hardest phases. It is one of those phases that we don't want to be a part of our journey. And this is the one that we don't talk about enough. We don't talk about the terrible feeling, how crappy it feels to experience real life stress and then not use snacking and scrolling to numb out. Why is it that a smart, overachieving woman who literally knows what to do might undo her weight loss successes? Is simply because she did not have this one skill of letting herself feel really uncomfortable. You experience stress or overwhelm or anger or frustration or irritation with insert your flavor of obstacle. And we are simply very, very habituated using snacking and scrolling to tap out, to numb out. And if that's been you, it's so normal that your brain offers that to you again. But also, there's a better way. I think about this as very specifically growing your capacity to allow uncomfortable emotions. It is not something you were ever taught in school, but it is learnable. It's growing this resilience on the inside that you don't have to tap out from your life. You don't have to tap out from that life circumstance that you've been dealt with scrolling or snacking. I take my clients through a process where we actually learn real brain science to relax your nervous system, to relax your cortisol levels, and actually to be alongside yourself the way that you would be with a best friend. If a best friend was experiencing stress or overwhelm or frustration or anger, how would you be with them? That's what I teach my clients how to do for themselves. So while it feels really uncomfortable, it can also be incredibly healing. Phase 7 is the imperfect moment. So we have plugged the holes in your strategy. It's comprehensive. You understand that to achieve the goal that you want, there's going to be some moments of discomfort, and you're going to have tools in your toolbox that teaches you how to be alongside yourself. And even then, because you're a human and humans are imperfect, you're going to go back to an old pattern. Whatever it is, you have an off-plan moment that undoes some of your wins on the scale. I call these plot twists. Our life is full of plot twists where you supposedly know what to do, and yet sometimes doing the thing you know is going to move you forward is really hard. And so your brain just goes back to old habits that are easier, familiar, that feel like a superhighway in your brain. Most overachievers in this moment don't know how to treat themselves. We go into shame or blame or judgment. We feel embarrassed, and we go right back to phase 3 and 4 with all or nothing thinking, where we think that we've gone backwards. We think that we've undone a lot of our wins. We hide from our results. Maybe we stop standing on the scale. We stop gathering data. We stop showing up for ourselves, or we try to go it alone, try to solve it alone to get back to where we were before we actually get support. It's really easy to slip into these old patterns and to not see some of your blind spots when you're not working with a coach to show you. But to me, phase 7, when you have imperfect moments and plot twists and you quote unquote undo or go backwards in your mind, you're only going backwards if you decide on purpose not to learn from the experience. You might need to learn a lesson 10 times before you have actually learned it. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, when you're doing complicated algebra or like an advanced class in high school or college, it's not that you just in medicine, you hear the phrase, learn one, do one, teach one. That's not how humans actually learn. We actually have to see something many, 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 many times. We have to do something many, 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 many times to truly learn it. But we never give ourselves the grace or the ability to learn when it comes to weight loss. The problem right here is we don't put in enough reps. So you might have thought, I've tried so many times to lose weight. But what's really happened is a lot of phases 1, 2, and 3, where you had lots of fresh starts and do-overs and fresh starts and do-overs. What we're talking about with phase 7 is a little bit more sophisticated. It's a little bit more comprehensive. We have to put in a lot of reps while keeping our foot on the gas. If we keep putting our foot on the gas and then taking it off, putting our foot on the gas and then taking it off, and putting our foot on the gas and taking it off, that's, phases 1, 2, and 3. You can see why you have starts and stops. What I'm talking about is you keep your foot on the gas. Even when it was imperfect, even when you feel crappy, even when you feel really uncomfortable, to evaluate and retrospectively look at what happened. Why did the scale go up a pound? Why did you go off plan? Why did you overeat? Why did you snack when you said you wouldn't? You have to keep your foot on the gas and put in the reps. It's when you do that piece, that combined keeping your foot on the gas while you put in more reps, that will take you to my favorite, which is phase 8. And that's transformation. Transformation is, for me, it's better than excitement. It's better than motivation. Transformation is visceral. It heals the most critical parts of you that have been around for decades. It heals the most judgmental parts of you that have judged all of the times that you have failed in the past. And it gives you permission to actually move forward. I'm going to be back next week with phases 8, 9, and 10. It is one of my favorites. I think this entire series is truly one of my most favorite series because I really want to normalize and validate every single phase of the weight loss journey. This is a wellness journey. This journey applies to hitting any goal, but it is one that I really want to validate for you. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. In recap, phase 4 is identifying your strategic gaps objectively. Phase 5 is comprehensively filling all of your strategic gaps. Phase 6 is that feeling of you're not going to use snacking and scrolling to numb out from life stresses. Phase 7 is imperfect moments. And actually keeping your foot on the gas while you put in the reps and learn from what happened. And next week, we're going to get into 8, 9, and 10. Before you go, I just want to remind you to please help me celebrate the 3-year anniversary of the Burn, Stress, Lose Weight podcast. This podcast is truly one of my most favorite parts of everything that I do. I love sharing real stories. My real experiences are coming at you in this podcast. I love talking about science and strategy and mindset skills to help you feel your best. And I hope that you leave our podcast episodes feeling a little bit better as well. So if you would love to celebrate with me, we have so many amazing prizes and so many winners for the celebration. You can get all of the details over at burnstressloseweight.com/celebrate. I will see you next week in the final part of the series.